Okay, so you are planning on giving a poetry lesson that addresses introducing similes and metaphors.
Yes.
Correct? So, do you have any ideas for how you envision the lesson might go, or do you have any particular objectives in mind that you would like to address with the students?
Honestly, I hadn't planned it yet. So, you had mentioned a book that I could use, and that we could go
Yes.
from there.
Let's see.
Where
Are you
is this in there? No, that was the government. Figurative language?
Yeah, that's it. So, maybe go to, let's look at some of the books, the best children's books, the top one, the simile and lesson plans. We can look at some of those ideas. Let's talk about maybe some of your objectives first, and that might help us kind of figure out, if we figure out what we want the students to be able to do, then we can figure out how we want to teach them. So,
Okay.
what do you think about that? Do we want them to be able to just identify similes and metaphors? Do we want them to be able to use them?
Well, I think for the firsts and a few of the seconds, probably we just want them to identify.
Okay, so maybe write that
And,
as our objective for our first and second.
And for the thirds, I think that they're fully capable
Mm-hmm.
of using. So first and second, just identify.
And be able to distinguish between the two, maybe.
Identify. And then the thirds, have them implement.
Mm-hmm.
Implement and use.
Maybe at least one
Similes.
example of one
Yeah.
simile and one metaphor in their poem. That way it's measurable. We can say that we
Right.
want them each to be able to do that.
Okay. Okay.
So if we look here, here are some examples of some books. So I put on hold my best friend is as sharp as a pencil. My dog is as smelly as dirty socks.
Mhm.
Muddy as a duck puddle. York toast. Quick as cricket, and crazy like a fox. So these are all books that have lots of examples of metaphors and similes. So
You just said you put them on hold
mhm.
at the which library?
Patrick Henry. So like here is, looks like, can we enlarge that?
I don't know. There's a way to enlarge. This
Okay, well
one. Oh, here.
here's an example. So it gives a little example of like what is a simile, it explains, and then in the quiet forest Rufus is sleeping like a log, and then it gives kind of a visual of, makes it concrete for them to see. So I think it gives some examples like that. So if you have some books that are showing different examples, and again, I want this to be kind of like you planning it and I'm helping.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So-
No, so I think I should read them. Maybe it would be a good idea to read them before lunch, or even
And we can,
you know,
and
so
if-
that they can have
we can
two
spread it out
different
throughout the week
examples.
too.
Yeah.
Since the lesson's on Thursday, you know, you can start
And we can
reading a few
read
of them.
a few of them so that they get an ear for
Mhm.
it and start to.
And so let's
these
think
going in their
about
minds.
the prior knowledge that some of the
Mhm.
students might have regarding this, because we have discussed it the past 2 years as well.
Right.
So
the
they should at
thirds
least-
and the seconds should definitely have some reference to this.
Mhm. So how might you tap into that prior knowledge for them? Because we do this with all our lessons, right? We give them a hook.
Yeah, absolutely. to
So
bring
since
them in.
this week we started with poetry, and we started talking about descriptive language, but we didn't really talk too much about figurative language.
Yeah.
So these similes and metaphors are one type of figurative language.
Maybe we could start, since we've been doing the rainforest and they created their creatures, I could come up with some similes and metaphors, or some sort of poem that
Mhm.
I can write something that would include some of that, that would maybe bring them in.
Yeah.
And since they're already playing with that,
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
so I'll write that
So
down.
that's building off the context they already have.
Yeah.
Did I email? I didn't download them though, did I? Pictures that I took yesterday.